Welcome back to Sports Fans Only with your boy, Sean Mack. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video and share the video. Today, I have a special guest with over 112,000 subscribers on YouTube. The name of his channel is It's Just JP. I'll say it again. It's Just JP. With that being said, welcome to Sports Fans Only, JP. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Feeling a little recovering from my vacation in Atlanta though, but I'm so happy to be here, man. How you been doing, man?
I'm doing well, just trying to deal with the struggles of the world. How's ATL down there? I'm originally from New Orleans. I used to make trips to ATL. How ATL doing these days?
Oh, they gave it was good, man. I was able to go see my family and just being able to just have come out with a different perspective because we're planning on moving there next year. Because I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, so we're planning to move somewhere in Georgia next year to be close to my family. But it was really cool. It was really awesome.
That's good. Ain't nothing like family. I always tell people that. I try to tell my kids that as they grow up. Remember your family. Always love your family because you only get a certain, you don't got to love them, but just appreciate your family.
100.
100. All right. We're here today for a special occasion. We're here because I think Larry Bird isn't getting his just due. It seemed like history's trying to forget about him, but people like JP is keeping him alive. He's a young guy and he's into old school ball. And that's why I told him I appreciate him. So we're going to hop into it right this. I just want people to understand what Larry Bird is and what he meant to the game. So Larry Bird played 13 seasons. In those 13 seasons, he was a 12-time All-Star. In 897 games he played, he averaged 24.3 points, 10 rebounds, 6.3 assists. He's a three-time champion, two-time Finals MVP, a three-time champion of the league, a three-time MVP of the league. And during those MVPs, he won them 3 times straight, 84, 85, and 86. Just for comparison to how great Larry Bird was, let's take LeBron James' career stats, for example. He averaged 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 7.4 assists. Larry isn't that far behind. So I would have a question for you, JP. Where would you put Larry Bird in the top 10, top 20? And what did Larry Bird mean to you watching the game growing up?
So Labor's in my top 10, no matter what. If you're talking about my favorite players of all time, he's definitely in my top three. If you're talking about analyzing the game like I always do, I'll put him in my top 10. Labor made so much to me because when I first started watching NBA, I knew about like the Iversons and Kobe and Shaqs and Michael Jordan's of this world. I really got into the NBA because of the '84 finals between the Celtics and the Lakers. And I knew of Larry Bird from like NBA Street, Volume 2. And I used to use him because he could shoot that ball really well. And then I just started watching, really got into the NBA and started watching the '84 finals and then watched the '85 finals. So Larry Bird's always been like one of my favorite players. The thing with Larry Bird that just makes him so amazing is his IQ ability. Like I did a poll not too long ago, or maybe it was like a year ago. I said between Jordan and Larry Bird, who had the better IQ? And I've seen a lot of people say Larry Bird over Michael Jordan, even though it kind of made the Michael Jordan fans upset when I say that Larry Bird has a higher IQ than Michael Jordan. I didn't say Michael Jordan. I didn't say Larry Bird was the better player than Michael Jordan. I just said Larry Bird has a better IQ than Michael Jordan. And they was like, "What you mean by that?" I said, "When you watch Larry Bird impact the game in different ways. Like Michael Jordan can. One thing Michael Jordan did is score the basketball because that's what he needed to do. He needed to finish the game. He needed to play defense and be able to hit his free throws, hit the clutch shots that he needed to. That was his job. With Larry Bird, he had to do pretty much anything, everything. But like he brought that team dynamic. Him and Magic came along the NBA and brought that team dynamic into basketball, and that's how they be winning a lot of the games and a lot of championships. So with Larry, he didn't really have to score that much, but when he does score, it means something. He rebounds that basketball. Like he has that nose for that ball. Anytime it goes up for the shot, Larry Bird's always there and knows how to box out. He played the fundamentals of the game. He also was a great passer. You said his average of 6.3 assists. He's an unbelievable passer when you watch him play. So he impacts in so many different areas because all he cares about is winning. That's all he cared about is winning. He didn't even care about how many stats he had. He didn't care about scoring 60 points against the um, Atlanta Hawks. He didn't care about getting a triple double in Game 6 of the '86 Finals between him, the Celtics, and the Rockets. All he cared about is when that clock strikes zero, and I look at that final score, and if we won the game, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Um, but he just I guess he just never gets just due just because of like how LeBron came along and how he is going into the stats and getting into the top 10 all time in almost each category. So it kind of lose Larry Bird in that exception, except for the old school fans who believe Larry Bird is a much better player than LeBron is, but it's LeBron's era. And, a lot of Gen Z fans believe that LeBron is the greatest small forward of all time. So it kind of loses Larry in that retrospect. And then also he was in that same decade as Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson won 5 championships in the 80s and stuff. Imagine if you didn't have Magic Johnson winning all those championships, Larry could have possibly easily would have had like, 4, 5, 6 championships that easy.
Yeah.
People do forget about, like, everybody talks about Michael Jordan and his greatness, winning all those championships. People forget that Larry Bird swept them in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like his team swept them, even though Jordan scored like 63 points. That still is a record to this day. People forget Larry Bird and his team swept them. Even when they faced each other for the last time before Larry Bird retired, Larry Bird got the best of Michael Jordan and his team beat them.
He was better to me. When I think of Larry Bird, because to be honest, he's my greatest basketball player of all time. If I had to put someone ahead, it probably would be Kobe when he came about. But Larry, I grew up with Larry Bird. And one thing I've always said about Larry Bird since I was a kid, he got the most out of his game for his lack of athleticism.
Yep.
He couldn't run that fast. He couldn't jump that high.
Yep.
He could shoot that ball. And like you said, his IQ was off the hook. And to this day, I still believe he had the biggest heart in the NBA. Yep. Guys wish they could play like Larry. And a lot of things people don't understand, Jay, is this. Larry Bird's career would have looked a lot different if in 1986, Len Bias passed away. People forget Len Bias passed away the year that Bird won his last championship, 1986. Somehow they still had the first round draft pick and picked Len Bias. If Len Bias wouldn't have passed away, I believe he would have helped Larry's longevity, meaning he could have shouldered the load in 87, 88, 89, when he was going against the Pistons and going against Magic in the finals. I believe he would have extended Larry's career where Larry wouldn't have had all those back injuries and Len Bias would have became the man. And on another note, I'm always questioned how great Jordan would have become with Len Bias in the NBA playing on the Celtics. Because before Jordan came to the league, I think they crossed paths in the ACC. Len played for Maryland, and then of course MJ played for North Carolina. And they got a game out there where he gave Jordan and he gave, who was on that team, Perkins and Kenny Smith, the business. I think he dropped like 42 on him. Like he was off the hook. So it always makes me wonder how, a butterfly effect. Len Bias passes away, Bird gets hurt. Then Reggie Lewis passed away in 1990 something, right? So it could have went Bird, Len Bias, Reggie Lewis, because Reggie Lewis played until he came in, I think, in 93. Bird officially retired in 92 after the Barcelona games. So just think how great his legacy would have been if he would have got to pass the torch to those guys and actually not have his back hurting. Bird was the man. I don't know why people don't know about it. We should have a Larry Bird Day in basketball in the NBA because he was just that great, but people just don't recognize his greatness. For one, for this generation, it's probably because of his color and the shorts all high, and it don't look like he's moving that fast. But if you go back, I've timed it before, Jay. I've timed a fast break in today's game, and I timed a fast break during Showtime and Boston days. They were a little bit faster. Magic used to get that ball and maybe take 3 to 4 dribbles and he's already past half court, and he's looking for Cooper, he's looking for Byron Scott. Same thing with Bird. DJ will get it. He'll take a couple dribbles, hit it to Bird. They're up the court in less than 2.3 seconds. The game is different, but the game is the same.
I agree with that. I was gonna say, like, if you watch like the NBA today, you got two of the top five players in the NBA, Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, who's easily the best player in the NBA to me. Like, not athletic, but they beat you off their IQ and their fundamentals. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing like Larry Bird. Everybody, be like, well, Larry Bird wasn't a great defender. I will argue that because Larry Bird made all defensive team 3 times.
Yeah.
He was a pretty good defender. I'm not saying he was a great defender, but he was a pretty good defender for you to be named all defensive team 3 times. That tells you that he was a better than average defender right there.
Yeah.
Um,
He definitely wouldn't hurt your team, you know.
no,
No.
no, he would not hurt your team at all. And the whole thing with Len Bias, that's so interesting and stuff because I always be like, reminiscing and be like, if Len Bias didn't pass away, that Celtic team, like Red Auerbach did a great job with his with the drafts and everything, getting Parrish McHale the next year after after getting Bud and then getting Len Bias to back it up too as well. Larry Bud said to himself that he would have retired in 1988 and let Len Bias be the franchise of that team and all that. And then they got Reggie Lewis in that 87 draft with Reggie Miller and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, came out of nowhere and, played really well and was going to be that the next guy in Boston after Parrish, McHale, and Bud. But yeah, it's just the tragedy after tragedy in Boston. And it just took time to recover right there because, Bud wanted to retire, but like he couldn't because they needed him, and he was gonna try his best to try to work it out and try to but he still had like really good games,
Yeah.
even with that back injury and stuff. You can
Yeah.
go back to the 91 series against the Pacers, especially in that game 5 when he came back after getting hit, in the head and all that in the second quarter and came back and lit the Pacers up. You can go back and watch the Blazers in 92 when Larry Bird put up a triple double with 49 points and I forgot how many rebounds and how many assists with
Sick
a
with it.
with a broken back. Like he literally was still like he was still like killing everybody. And people forget his trash talking. Like for it's you gotta be a really great trash talker if Michael Jordan's telling his teammate, hey, do not start with Larry Bird. Do not get Larry Bird to trash talk. That's when you know you're a great trash talker. Then you know when he tells you where he is going to shoot at. I'm going to shoot from the 3-point line. You can try to block and do whatever you can, but there is nothing you can do about it. And he goes to that same spot, hit that three, nothing you could do about it.
No.
Like this guy was the greatest trash talker of all time. And he even said it was all in fun. It was never personal with them. Like you see all the other trash talkers like Gary Payne, it kind of make it a little bit personal.
Yeah.
But Bud, it's just all mind games and just having fun and basically just like confidence in himself because he was so confident in his basketball abilities that like, I can go ahead and go against an athletic guy and beat him off the dribble because he thinks the game. He thought the game through and knows what's going to happen next. Like his mind was just so quick that like there was nothing you could do because he already had the next play in mind.
Yeah, he did. I'm gonna tell this story, then I'm gonna ask a few questions. We gonna get on out of here. I knew this was gonna happen. I'm at my mark, but I just want to keep talking because it's just that good ball. In 1987, so this is Magic's first win over Boston. I'm sitting in my aunt room. I'm like 7 years old, and Bird hits a shot. They go up one. I think Bird hit it. They go up one. So it's like maybe 5 to 6 seconds left. I tell my brother, I'm like, who you think gonna win? He was like, just watch the game. So Magic takes the ball. Magic gets the ball. He does a little hezzy. Then he goes towards the middle of the lane, like perpendicular, right? And he shoots this little baby sky. It was just called we didn't have a name for it then. They named it after this shot. He did a little sky hook, but they called it the baby sky hook over outstretched hand of Kevin McHale. He hits the shot. This is when I knew that sports just isn't fun. He hits the shot. I bust out crying. I go run on the bed and I'm crying. My brother comes to me. He's 5 years old. He says, Sean, they still have a chance. Trust me, Bird might be able to pull this out. Come watch the rest of the game. I was like, okay. So I went and sat next to my brother. They throw the ball to Bird in that top corner. He shoots a little from the side and it lips out. I cried that night. I cried that morning. I cried the next day. I cried that whole week. My mama said, Sean, it ain't that serious. If you're going to watch sports, it's always going to be like this. But I had never seen Bird lose to that point. I wasn't old enough to see him lose early in the early 80s because he had won. He hadn't lost yet. So it hurt me so much. And I realized, wow, at that moment, like 7 years old, loving a sports athlete can also be great, but it also gives you a lot of pain. Just like now, when my favorite team loses, I don't even want to watch Sports Center. That was my introduction to sports hurts.
It does, especially with that big moment like that. That I still remember that moment. And Pat Riley told a story. He said, because Larry Bird was so open, and Larry Bird thought he was going to hit the shot, and then it went out. And then like he looked at Pat Riley. Pat Riley said, "This is what Larry Bird said." He said, "Why would you leave me that open?" He was so
yeah, he was
confidence, the confidence, and then to cap it off, the quote from Pat Riley needs. I think that it just needs to summarize about how great Larry Bird is. If I need a person to, I'm paraphrasing. If I need a guy to save me a game, I'll pick Michael Jordan. If I need a guy to take the last shot to save my life, I choose Larry Bird.
100%. You know, that kind of led to my next question. It's game 7. You're on the road. So remember this. It's game 7. You're on the road. You're the coach. You get the pick. Don't worry about how you got to game 7 without these guys playing. Just somehow it's game 7. You got to pick Bird. You got to pick LeBron. Who you picking?
I pick Larry Bird just because I trust him a lot more in those clutch situations. I know how much great LeBron is and everything, but I know LeBron has a tendency, like he can hit the shots, but he can also try to make the right play and try to pass it. Larry Bird will want the ball and wants to keep the ball, and he will win on his back no matter what. And I've seen Larry Bird hit clutch shots in situations, getting double team and hit the shot. I see them telling Xavier Medina, I'm gonna hit it from this spot right here for game winner, and he did that. And he told Stacey King told this story, which is so hilarious. He said that when he hit the shot over Pippen and stuff, like he was just like, "Don't worry, I do this to Pip all the time right here to Stacey King." So, like Larry Bird's just the confidence, and like I say, he hit them. He hit the clutch shots. I trust him a lot more than I do with LeBron.
Me too. I If I want to be just, I would pick Bird. That's my man. But if I want to be subjective about it, right? I would say objective. First 3 quarters, give me LeBron. 4 quarter, give me Bird.
That's all. That's all it needs.
Right?
That's all he needs. That's
all
I need.
A lot of people don't remember because they weren't there. But if they go back and study their history, speaking of Reggie Lewis used to give Jordan and Pippen problems.
Yes.
Big problems. People don't know that. He was living. It always makes me say him and Bias keeps Bird's career going a little longer. I'm not sure if Jordan has 6.
I could see that. I could see that argument, but this is like it's like a what if type of scenario and stuff like that. We would never know how it's going to be. Like the history writes itself right here. Jordan got the 6 championships, but if Bias was living and Reggie Lewis was living, Boston could have maybe 1-2 championships right there in the 90s.
Yeah,
in my opinion, with that team that they had and stuff. The one thing with Red Auerbach that I love about him is that he is so loyal to his players and stuff, but he also makes the right adjustments and gets the right players to fit within the system and all that. And he cares all about winning. That Boston tradition is something. Yeah, it's something special.
It is. And it always also makes me think like the what if. Do the Pistons get over the Boston hump to get there to stop Jordan? Because they would have had to battle Bird, Bias, Lewis. So do the Pistons actually get over the Boston hump? I don't think so. At least not in that manner. They might have, but it wouldn't have went in that way that it went because the Pistons finally took out Boston because Bird was hurt, right? Let's be real. And they really had no more people on that team. Auerbach wasn't drafting no more. I forget who they put in the front office at that time. But you know what? I have two big fans of your channels that's my friends. And I told them who I was going on with. And they're like, please ask this question for me. Excuse me. And I'm like, okay, I'll ask it. No problem. So I have two questions. I'm going to let you get on out of here. Sure. It's from my guy, Gene. Why did it take 40 years to get a white player to be drafted number 1 overall? I didn't even check the stat and know if it's true. It just sounds real. It sounds like it's true.
Wow, that's that right there. I mean, I don't really know the answer and stuff. Whenever you like look at number 1 draft picks and all that, you always got to go with the best player in the draft, the one that's going to be the most hype, with the back it up with the skill sets and stuff like that. So yeah, I didn't really notice about that stat right there. That's kind of amazing to me, but. I mean, I don't really know. I really do not know the answer and stuff. But when you look at Cooper Flag, I guess Cooper Flag is the first one. I guess so. That draft class, like, it was easy to see that Cooper Flag was going to be the number 1 draft pick. We could always seen that when what he did at Duke and what he did in high school. He already had a lot of hype to him. He's like a generational type of player that like people keep comparing him to Larry Bird, in terms of skill sets and stuff like that. I think he's more like a Tom Chambers to me.
Yeah,
but like
good comparison. Good comparison.
Yeah, he's a Tom Chambers to me, and just a great skill set. You could easily tell that he was going to be the best player coming out of this draft and all that. But in terms of not having a white player the last 40 years, I mean, I don't really look at that. I don't really look at race like that. You just choose the best player that is in that draft that could be your next franchise and all that. So
yeah, I feel that. Like I always loved. People hated him, but I loved Kristen Leitner.
Yeah,
like, that shot was huge. Like my mother's coming home, it's raining. We holding the umbrella for her at the door. She's like, "Is the game over yet?" We like, "No." Leitner hits that shot. I jump up and I break my mother's chandelier thing. I thought she was gonna whoop my butt, but she was like, the love of sports ran so deep in my house. I didn't want him to hit it, but overall, I loved Hurley. I loved Duke because my brother played ball at that time. He was roughly the same age, playing AAU and playing in high school. My brother had that type of game. Baggy shorts, low to the ground, but he can always create a shot for someone else. That was my bro. Moving on to the second question. This is from my boy Mike. In the modern game, can post play make a return? I say it already has with the Joker. What do you say?
I was going to say the same thing. I think it already has with Joker and how he plays the game and how he gets to the basket. You see the same thing with Joel Embiid. If he doesn't really take too many threes and stuff, you get him really serious. If you check out like that MVP year, he kind of got more into the post game and all that and doing a little bit of the dream shake and all that. So it's kind of making a return in his game today and all that. The mid range is kind of returning too as well. So it's great to see that, because at one point post play was gone and all that, and like you had to depend on pick and rolls and you can like get the roll and get off a dunk or try to take like a short shot or mid range shot and all that.
Pick and pop,
a little pick and pop, But I'm glad it's returning to the game and all that, But I think fun. I think in retrospect, fundamentals is not always gone in the game and stuff like that. Like you can easily teach young players moves that they need to. I'm surprised the skyhook hasn't been used yet. Like Kareem is the last one to use it in Magic. I want to see more people do the sky hook and all that because it's the most unstoppable shot in history. So I'm surprised people ain't really teaching them that and all that because everybody wants to do the cool moves, the cool threes, the cool dunks and all that. But I'm glad it's making a return and all that, and I'm glad Jokic is making an example of like using back to the basket game and all that, so it can tell younger players that back to the basket game is going going to work and you can be impact. Same with the mid range, seeing Shea win the championship, seeing him win with that team and then hitting his main range shots. So it's like kind of coming back right there. So let's just see what else is coming back and see how further it's going to develop. But I mean, right now we're just in that 3-point era.
Yeah, we are. He said something at the end of that, and he took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to tell you, isn't it a fresh breath of air to see what Shea Gildress Alexander's doing? The young
Yes.
people don't like the game. They're like, "Oh, you did." I'm like, man, that's the same thing Iverson did. That's the same thing a young Kobe did. Midi all day, and I'm gonna get my shot off. And if you come over here, I'm gonna get you to get fouled. I'm gonna get a foul. I'm gonna go to the line. So I'm gonna have a good what they say, like, is he 90? Is he 90, 40, 90? No. The splits. What's his splits?
I'm not sure if you're talking about 50, 40, 90. But I'm not really too sure of his
He got to
splits.
be close.
I don't know if he's close on the free
Free
throws in terms
throws.
of
You're right.
I don't think he's close on the free throws in terms of that though. But I'll say this though, like it is a breath of fresh air. It's great to see the mid range and all that coming back right there. Is that you can impact the game using a mid range shot and all that. I just felt like at one point the mid range was so missing because everybody kept focusing on 3-point shots because everybody's trying to copy Golden State style of basketball and all
Mm-hmm.
that. And now, like, it's kind of coming back and seeing OKC going into like the mid range, especially with Shea, seeing Devin Booker hitting mid range shot. Him and Chris Paul was like taking mid range shots when the Phoenix Suns was like one of those teams that was going to the finals. You see, I forgot that person's now Kawhi Leonard whenever he
Yep.
stays healthy. Like the reason he's a top 3 player, one of the reasons is his mid range. Like he is just killing people off that mid range pull up shot and all that. So yeah.
The game is evolved, but the game is still a good game. I think the fans just have evolved, right? So
Yeah.
the fan has, they it's just different. I can't really talk to them like certain of the young generation. It's just hard. It's really hard because they just see what they see, and they only see. And most of them don't even watch a full game anymore. They get highlights. They don't sit down with some chips and just watch a full game on a Saturday or a Sunday. So, on that note, we're gonna get on out of here. Anything else you got to say before we bounce on out?
I'll say this. I talk with Shane, the dribbling machine, that used to be in the N1 mixtape and all that.
Remember
He
him?
commented on one of my reels and stuff, especially with one of my viral videos of Kevin Garnett, talking about the era is so much different and that, people in today's era can't play 20 years ago and stuff like that. He said something that was really interesting that kind of made me kind of change my perspective a little bit. He was like, each era is going to have their own issues. Like you got people playing in the 80s and stuff like that. They had issues probably from the previous generation right there, like Wilt Chamberlain was like a big component of like, oh man, that this era I could easily dominate easily right there because they couldn't play in my era and all that. So I think each era has its own issues and everything. Just because like basketball is just an evolution and all that. And I think fans we just kind of we stick to our nostalgia, we stick to our like opinions of what we grew up on, and then like when we grow up it's like the game is not the same no more like it was as a little kid when we grew up watching it because that's how you was raised. So I think basketball is still a beautiful game, and you got to appreciate the game of basketball, appreciate the evolution for where it came from. Don't really disrespect the old generation because they paved the way for the players today, that's playing right now. But at the same time, the old school generation, you still got to give a little bit of respect to the players today. I just think it's just a big disconnect that, I wish everybody could just get along. But I mean, I don't know we ever going to have that connection because I think a lot of people is stuck to their own ways of what they view in terms of basketball.
Beautifully said. On that note, with over 112,000 subscribers on YouTube, the name of his channel is It's Just JP. Once again, that's It's Just JP. I appreciate having you, brother. And on that note, I've been Sean Mack, and this is Sports Fans Only. Holla.